Wisconsin politics, national politics for that matter. In the state of Michigan, they're going after the fake electors. All part of the election was stolen, rigged, all of that, my word, nonsense. Joining us on the phone line, the president of the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, Rick Esselberg, who has argued cases in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I am good. Sandy Max is alongside as well. So let's talk about this. Michigan, they're going after their group of fake electors. I've kind of had an off-the-show conversation with you back and forth on this. I argued to you that I would say, if I said 80%, let's say 3/4 of Wisconsinites believe that these fake electors did something criminal. You say that's not the case. Why do you say that?
Well, look, you have to distinguish between whether or not this was a waste of time, futile, stupid. I think that my point has nothing to do with whether or not Donald Trump really won the 2020 election in Wisconsin. My organization put out, I think, the most comprehensive study of the 2020 election, and we concluded that he did not, that Biden, in fact, got more votes. But is it criminal? And the problem is most of the time when we use words like fake or fraud or corrupt, what we mean is that a person is doing something that will fool somebody else, that will induce somebody to do something that they wouldn't otherwise have done. So imagine somebody, goes to the bank and they pretend to be Steve Scafidi and they're able to withdraw money from your checking account. That's fraud. But in this case, there was no fraud because these electors, you can call them fake, you can call them alternate, depending, doesn't matter who they are, these people knew that they weren't going to fool everybody. Everybody knew that the official count had Biden winning Wisconsin. Everybody knew that Tony Evers had certified Biden as the winner.
See, that's where I disagree with you, Rick, because everyone, whether they believe that or not, they were saying it out loud. Elected officials in the state of Wisconsin were saying that the election was stolen. So to me, that is believing that.
But Steve, it doesn't matter what some random official thought. What matters is, could these people have induced somebody who had the authority to act based upon their signing this statement? And the answer is they could not have. They could not have caused those votes to be counted unless someone in authority, I think the United States Supreme Court, ultimately decided that, yes, Trump had won Wisconsin and that therefore those votes should be counted. This was something that could have an impact on the election only if it was ultimately determined that they turned out to be right. And that's why they did it. I mean, and there's precedent for this. There was a thing that happened in Hawaii where there was a dispute between Kennedy and Nixon as to who won the electoral votes there. There was an argument that was being made that they had to cast these votes by December 14th, or any challenge that they might bring to the election, even if it was successful, would be futile. And so they were trying to preserve their position.
So they were protecting They're protecting what might happen. Is that kind of the right way to?
Yeah, they were protecting what might happen, and lawyers advise people to do that all the time. Now, had they asked me, and they didn't, had they asked me, I would have told them, there's no way that you're going to win this. I think it was clear. We have to go back in time to December 14th of 2020, and there were a lot of allegations that were flying around. What did we know? What did we not yet know? I think by December 14th, it was pretty clear, and particularly after the Supreme Court's decision, that they weren't going to win this challenge to the outcome in Wisconsin. But they had a petition for cert pending with the United States Supreme Court. And so it may have been futile. It may have been a waste of time. It may have been divisive for them to continue to press this claim and preserve, the possibility that these votes would be counted if their claim was successful. But it wasn't criminal. And that's part of my problem here. I mean, I just don't like the way that both sides are constantly trying to criminalize politics, lock her up, lock him off, do this, do that. I think that we have too much of that already. Criticize these folks if you want to. I think that they deserve some criticism. but I don't think they committed a crime.
So you and I are around this a lot. We hear from people, and you've written about it extensively. I've talked about it and written about it extensively. The group of people, and I'll let you pick a percentage. I'll pick 20% of some diehard conservatives that I know still believe the election was stolen, rigged, and that Donald Trump is president. What do we do with that reality?
Well, I mean, there are people that, Stacey Abrams still believes that she was elected governor of Georgia.
True. Well said.
There are people that thought that John Kerry carried Ohio and therefore, won the 2004 election. Look, they're wrong. My organization, not trying to toot my own horn, somebody else did most of the work, but my organization did a study of the 2020 election at the Wall Street Journal editorial page called The Best Study of the 2020 election that had been done in the country up to that point. And we looked at it every which way. And although there were departures from the law in 2020, and those should be criticized and fixed, there really was no evidence that Trump actually had gotten more eligible voters to vote for him. And in our tribalized politics, it's very, very difficult for people to want to accept that. I mean, I somebody whose views I respect, I heard say shortly after the 2020 election, well, I'm going to believe the election was stolen because that's what our tribe believes. I think we need to get away from that. I don't think that's particularly helpful. And I think right now it's hurting Republicans because I think the more that they pound the table and they talk about the 2020 election, that's not winning, that's losing.
Careful, Rick. They're going to call you a rhino pretty soon.
Yeah, I know.
So with the false electoral college certificates submitted in Michigan, also Arizona, Georgia, New Mexico, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and here in Wisconsin, with this first Michigan case, do you think any other states are going to follow?
Oh, they might. I mean, if they did it in Michigan, they might do it. I mean, so far in Wisconsin, the Attorney General has, and all district attorneys who might bring charges have declined to do so. I think that's the right call on their part, but it's quite possible this could happen, particularly if they wind up getting a conviction. And I should add, just to be absolutely complete, there could be facts that if you tied what was happening here to some other type of unlawful act, that you might be able to bring a conspiracy charge. But I just don't see any allegation that happened here in Wisconsin. Here in Wisconsin, I think these people were trying to preserve a claim. I think they should have made that clear in the document. They would have saved themselves a lot of trouble. I don't know why they didn't. They might have thought that it wouldn't have had the requisite claim preserving effect if they did that. But I don't think that, they were thinking that they would go to Washington, wave this piece of paper around, and Wisconsin's electoral votes would be counted for Trump. That wasn't going to happen. There was going to have to be some determination on the part of somebody who had the authority to make that determination. And in this instance, I think it ultimately would have been the Supreme Court that, in fact, Trump had gotten more votes and carried Wisconsin.
Real quick, only got about 30 seconds. Given all of that, what you said, what I've said, do you think it will be pursued, criminality, in the state of Wisconsin?
No, because I think that this has gotten a hard look by largely Democratic prosecutors, and they've decided not to do it. And I don't think they will.
Rick Essenberg, president of the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. Always appreciate your wisdom. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. So that's the sort of the legal review of that. I have a lot of respect for Rick. He is somebody who's argued cases in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court successfully and unsuccessfully, and that's his take on that.